All right. I guess we are good to go. Sound check is done. We are live. All right. So
We
how's
are live, and the volume works this time.
thank goodness.
The
So
sound, whatever you want to call it. Oh man, my freaking thing's on bedtime mode. Maybe
whoops.
that's why I tripped out last time.
We took a little break during the holidays, but we're back tonight. And as me and Just, Mr. JB333 discussed, we're gonna be doing a half an hour shows from here. Maybe on certain occasions we'll do longer, but so tonight we're on until 10:30 my time, but 7:30 yours.
I'm like 10:30, sir. That's a stretch. Got to work
I
in the
get
morning,
it.
dude. We're getting ready for like blizzard weather according to the news, but
We got severe
I
storms
always
coming
think
from New
it's
York tonight.
I always think it's funny because like the news. So I keep track of the weather app, and it's like it's pretty random. Sometimes it's like, oh, it's gonna rain, then it's like, oh, it's gonna snow, and then all of a sudden the news inundates us with the, oh, it's gonna snow, it's gonna happen. Now all of a sudden the weather is solid snow, right? It's
Right.
interesting. It's almost like the collective power of people manifesting what they're seeing. You know what I mean?
Interesting
So
thought.
for
So
I just thought,
if they wanted certain weather, they put it out there. Then we expect it, so that's we create that weather. Hmm.
I do
Okay.
believe it. I without a doubt. Like so, I mean, the Native Americans used to do rain dances. If you get a large number of people grouped together, like I believe that it would work. Like just
Interesting.
interesting to me. You know what I mean? They inundate us with it. Like I was watching the news. Oh, blizzard coming. Like what? We were talking about this the other day, but oh well.
Where'd it come from? And why do they want blizzards now? So we have to manifest
I
it
mean,
for them.
one could argue. Obviously, the science is. Oh yeah, it's just the way the weather works, and they're just telling us about it. Yeah, I'm sure. But anyway, that's beyond the scope of what we're talking about. I like to get on tangents.
Well, nothing wrong with that. All right. So what is tonight's topic going to be?
We're talking a little bit about, obviously everybody's talking about the crap in Florida. Um, Apparently, what is that? Allegedly, somebody's seen like a 10-foot tall alien. That's what I see on the little TikTok viral video. But
It is interesting
did you
because in the
see anything
clip
of that?
you do see tons of cops out there for what they said were a couple of teenagers shoplifting, and then there are people who stayed at night while there are like over a dozen cop cars for that little reason. And then they're saying because it's just a cover up for these beings being sighted. This was in Miami, Florida.
It was a video you just showed me. It was like it was at a portal. Was that from the same thing? Like it was like a portal
Supposedly.
opening up. I mean, it's pretty interesting because I mean, where the supposed portal was, I guess like the people were kind of freaking out and going over to check it. Again, I like to put it out there that this is all speculation. Merely stuff to look at because I don't necessarily believe in anything anymore because AI can create any video. So,
Oh
but
yeah.
given
Like
what
people
we've been
stated
shown, it's interesting.
in in all the comments, people were stating too, like every video released are shot with crappy cameras on crappy phones when everybody has pretty modern cell phones with 4K video, but yet every video is blurry. And it's like, why?
Why
Is
is
it
it always
deliberate?
like that? Like why is every UFO one like that? And like, there's a couple different ideas that one could argue is that you're trying to take a picture of something that's capable of jumping dimensions. So, I mean, you're maybe going to get blurry, just like the idea of trying to film a ghost or take a picture of a ghost. It's going to come
Mm,
up blurry. It's going to come up like non-focused. Maybe it's because we're dealing with something outside of a scientific realm that we're able to explain. But
makes sense. I don't know what
that's
to
at
think
least
about
that's
that.
my belief on UFO stuff. Like when people are trying to take videos, it's like you're dealing with something that's capable of shifting dimensions. Personally, like,
Yeah. Like
mm-hmm.
even Bigfoot, everything they're always blurry. When they get something too good, it's fake, obviously. But then you're wondering, well, like you say, there's so much footage that we can't prove, and it's so easy to fake. If we see real, actual footage,
The
nice.
Sasquatch research shirt.
So whenever we get footage of something, we question it because we don't know if it's fake or not. Because it's so easy to fake things these days.
Yep, and that's probably part of the grand plan. You know what I mean? Because no one is going to know what is real, what's false anymore.
Hmm. We can create
just kind of
reality.
go with it.
Yep.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it's fun to speculate. It's fun to like think about, but who knows what is real anymore? You know what I mean? I had
Who
my friend
knows?
talk about the moon landing stuff, and like we was talking about like when our video we did last, what was it, 2 weeks ago, talking about the different science behind it. Like I've read, a ton about all that, and I've
Right.
read the all both sides. And I was saying I don't necessarily believe either side. I don't believe, like watching that video, I don't necessarily believe that it was a 10-foot tall alien. However, why not?
And that's the thing. If it actually was, we're not going to believe it.
Even you're right. Even if it was a full on like solid video, you'd still be able to write it off as a hoax. Like
You question it. Yeah. Is it fake? Is it real? We don't know. We weren't there. And this stuff doesn't seem to happen to me in my area, so I can't see it. And I'm open to it,
dude,
so it makes me wonder.
that same attitude is dangerous. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't. I've never seen it, so it can't be real, right? Like
Right.
the
I
world
mean,
is a
I've
big
seen some
ass
stuff,
place.
though, but
I
it's
don't
like,
know.
I'd welcome it. So why do I never get to experience it? Maybe because I already do
Right.
believe it. I don't know.
So I messed around with Google Bard and asked, which is the AI software. I asked it about the my question was do you know anything about the claim that there was a 10-foot tall alien spotted in Miami? And of course, Google Bard is up to date, so it says that the claim that a 10-foot tall alien was spotted in Florida on New Year's Day was widely circulated online, but officials have debunked it as false. Of course, we know that.
Of course.
So here's a summary of the events. The origin of the claim is that a video surfaced online showing a large, elongated shadow outside of Bayside Marketplace, a shopping mall in Miami, surrounded by police cruisers. This, coupled with unusual police activity in the area, fueled speculation about an alien encounter. Like, that's just random. Like, personally, like, how do we jump right to a 10-foot tall alien unless there was some credible witnesses? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Maybe I was an
It's just
alien. It
interesting.
was a tall shadow. Maybe it was a shadow person.
Right. Who knows? That's true. So
Mm-hmm.
Miami police swiftly responded, stating definitively that there were no aliens, UFOs, or ETs. They clarified that the shadow was likely produced by a person walking, and the police presence was an unrelated incident. Related to an unrelated incident. So
Kind of
evidence to
coincidental.
debunk the claim. So careful analysis of the video showed that the figure had human-like shape at its base, further supporting the explanation of a person's shadow. Additionally, no other credible evidence, such as photos or testimonies from multiple witnesses, seem to support the alien claim. Interesting.
I mean, it makes you wonder that a mall in Miami would have so many people. There'd be so many phones out recording and taking pictures that there's only like 2 or 3 blurry ones out there. And most of those are CCTV.
What I found the most interesting about this whole thing that the Google Bard said, because this is an AI software, so it says, if you'd like to stay informed about verified incidents or events related to space exploration or potential extraterrestrial intelligence, reputable organizations like NASA or the SETI Institute provide trustworthy information.
NASA, not so much. SETI, maybe.
SETI, yeah, definitely, man.
That's the whole purpose.
That the one? Isn't that Dr. Greer?
He's a
Or
part of
is
it.
he SETI?
I think he's SETI. But the search for extraterrestrial, what's it? SETI, SCTI, something. Back in the old days when the PS3 even first came out, they had an app where the PS3 could be used on the network to run data for SETI. And I was part of that program.
Oh, yeah.
But it suddenly just disappeared.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, without a doubt, like, I don't care what anybody says, man. I firmly believe in extraterrestrial life. Like, I think it goes so much deeper than anybody is ready to understand or accept. I think it's very much a part of our civilization, and it has been since the beginning.
What else people are saying? They're advanced beings, but they're not extraterrestrial. They're actually on Earth, but maybe hidden in underground somethings or under the ocean bases and all that. But they actually are here on Earth.
I mean, yeah, that could be, dude. Like, I think that like the idea from Rick and Morty. I think this is an infinite universe, so I think that there is infinite possibilities, infinite types of creations, infinite types of beings could be out here. Like, without a doubt, there could be a lot of extraterrestrials that are like that live on Earth. There could be a lot of, obviously they wouldn't be extraterrestrial if they lived on Earth. They'd be terrestrial. So different terrestrial organisms. Could be
Right.
lizard people for all we know. Who knows, man?
And they say lizard people are actual terrestrials that have been here forever. They just live on the ground. And there's a lot of supporting evidence to support that too.
A lot of evidence, a lot of freaking eyewitness testimonies. Like, I don't know. Anytime you start mentioning lizard people, though, you get destroyed. Everybody's like, "Oh my god, I believe in the lizard folks."
I've never seen one that I know of unless it was in human form or something.
It'd probably be terrifying, dude. Like, in all honesty, man. Like, let's be honest. You just seen a giant. I mean, I don't even like little lizards, let alone like ones that are as big as me, dude. Like,
or bigger. Supposedly there
right.
are reptilians that are over 30 feet tall. I mean, can you imagine? Like a dinosaur coming at you. You couldn't fight it.
What are you talking about? Like Godzilla here? Like,
basically.
Speaking of that,
Godzilla. He's a lizard.
You gotta watch that Monarch: The Legacy of Monsters show, man. Phenomenal, super good.
I gotta sign up for Apple TV if I don't already have it.
I've been obsessed with it, and I find it interesting because like the part that I'm on, no spoilers, but anyway, there's portals that a different dimension essentially it seems to be within our own Earth that these Titans live in, and I'm like, man, dude, that makes a lot of sense. Like, makes a lot of sense for a lot of things, like the idea of the hollow Earth, quote unquote.
Right.
Because people have claimed to have been there, right? What if they flew through a portal? Is that more or less sensible than somebody freaking flying into the Earth and the Earth is actually hollow? Which, I mean, according to geology, it doesn't really support that. There's not enough evidence to support that. But
it was like that movie Kong versus Godzilla, where they took King Kong and they were trying to find his home, which was in the hollow Earth supposedly, and it was more or less kind of traveling through a portal to get to it, I guess.
Oh yeah. Dude, King Kong versus Godzilla was good stuff, man. That was good stuff.
Mm-hmm. But at the same time, they made it didn't seem like it was interdimensional. Because at that one point, when Godzilla fired his laser beam straight into the Earth, it went down into the hollow Earth. It didn't show the dimensions or anything, and it reached where he was at. So it was more like it was actually on Earth, not a different dimension. Or did it?
I don't know.
Flatboard it.
I don't know, the way that this place worked in the show is like the time function differently there. So like apparently, they were only down there for a little bit, but like 20, 30 years had passed on Earth. That's one of the common themes of people talking about jumping dimensions, like the Bermuda Triangle. Like going through the Bermuda Triangle, people lost time. Like
disappear completely.
Disappear completely.
I mean, it makes sense. Who says time is just local? It wouldn't be the same time in any other dimensions and realities. They had their own separate timeline. If it was out of sync with ours, it could be 30 years later. And who says that all those planes that disappeared won't suddenly start showing up all of a sudden any day now? For them, it was instant.
I mean, dude, there's all kinds of crap that we're still discovering in this day and age, man, that has blown our minds, and like science can't explain it. Ancient ruins all over the planet. I love to go off on those tangents because, I know everybody's quick. Oh, you're just quick to write it off with aliens and stuff like that. But like, dude, it's every single culture in the world has depictions of like dealing with what looks like extraterrestrials from outer space.
Yeah.
Like, we just write it off like, oh, ravings of people who are trying to create gods because they had nothing better to do. Or I don't know. Read the book, The Immortality Key, and talk about our ancient past. Man, that's just wild. Just wild.
I got the audiobook. I just haven't had a chance to listen to it yet. I need to start checking that out when I'm going to work or something.
Dude, it's narrated by the author, man. He's a really good reader. Just doesn't want to put you to sleep at night, but I don't know.
That's a good thing. Shoot. But I've always had this theory that eventually there would be a merging of dimensions. And I've heard other people say the same kind of thing, that eventually that veil separating our world from another one is going to disappear. And they're just going to turn into one larger reality. I've had that feeling for years, decades.
Could be.
Maybe that's what we're seeing now. All these UFOs or shadow people appearing. That veil's getting thinner, so it's easier to cross over.
Yep. What do you think about the idea that like from the Law of One series where it's talking about, extraterrestrials are really just like higher dimensional entities trying to help people out, or like that's what literally what the book is pretty much saying is that like angels and all that kind of stuff is that's really what it is. It's you know
A higher
extraterrestrials
frequency
trying to help us out, right?
or a higher vibrational reality. That's all reality is vibration and frequency. We're just on a different band than these other realities are. They exist in a bandwidth outside of our, perceivable ways of seeing things. We can't see or hear or interact with it physically, at least. But like if you go from 3 dimensions to 5 dimensions, like behind me, you see a door there. I can't go through that door unless I open it. If you go through to the 5th dimension, you can just go around it from a different angle that doesn't exist, like an empty space, and just walk right through it. Kind of how ghosts do.
Makes sense to me, man. Somebody was actually giving me a story, a couple different ghost stories. Like a lot of people send me little audio messages and tell me different ghost stories. I've been trying to meet and put them together and use them compilations. Uh, like, what do you think? I mean, what do you think about ghosts? Like, as far as like, are they spirits roaming around? Are we dealing with like leftovers? Are we dealing with what I would term? I think of them as like thought forms myself, but
I have a theory. I don't know if I told you about it or not, but I think what a ghost is and what a spirit is are two different types of entities. A spirit is when your soul leaves, and a ghost is what's left of the ego when the body dies. Because even the ego has its own energy, as your body is not just one single consciousness. So that has to go somewhere too. So a ghost, and why it looks like the body, it's got just the ego from the body. That's why you see it that way. Like I said, a spirit crosses over when it finishes with this vessel.
makes sense to me, man. I don't know. Book series I've been obsessed with. They call them thought forms. It's like so if you have a strong enough emotion that ties you to this plane, you have a desire, like I don't know, unfinished something you didn't get to say to a person, for example, and you die out. That emotion can be so strong that could tie that portion of your being here, right? That's kind of what I believe. So like a lot of times if somebody dies in a heinous way, their anger or their freaking resentment, whatever you want to call it, can keep them trapped there, I think,
Hmm.
and keeps you tied. I don't think it's necessarily the entire spirit, but I think it's like a portion of you, like a.
So is it more of a projection, or is it an actual fraction or a fragment of the spirit? Kind
I
of
think
what?
so. I think all of this is a projection. I think your entire being is a projection from your higher self, or whatever you want to call it, the mind
Hmm.
of the universe, if you will.
Yeah, because they
Which
always
leads
say
us.
if we do ascend to different realities, like the ascension process, or you want to call it that, from here I'll go to the next ascension, and from there I go even higher. Let's say you eventually reach a ceiling. Since that exists outside of space and time, I've already reached that level. So I'm just kind of watching myself from its perspective, its past, which is my present, but it's already all happened.
Yeah, that's a real mind f, if you will, real mind f to think about. But that's pretty much what they say in the Law of One series too. It's like a big circle. You essentially, ascend up through the different dimensions, and then you go back, start all over again from scratch. Our goal is to resync with the creator at the end, I guess. But um,
It's like
I don't
all of
know.
time is already done, it's already existed. The beginning and the end is already done. We're just at a certain level in that moment, and we haven't gotten there yet.
Right. It leads us to the religious type talk. So you've been watching. What was that show? You've been watching about the life of Jesus.
Of the Chosen, yeah, that's a very good show. It's actually, I think you can watch it online as well as on, like on what do they call it, on the Dish Network, where you watch programs or whatever
On demand,
on demand. Yeah, but
on
I've been
demand,
watching it
or you pay
online.
per view or whatever. I don't know.
Right, and it starts out from his first encounter where he finds Mary. At the time, she's being possessed by demons, and he basically cast the demon out. We got somebody who's seen it. All right, Selena. Yeah, it is definitely incredible. I do recommend it too.
Selena
It kind
knows that TSA life, bro.
of
She knows
oh,
that
the
TSA
struggle,
life.
the struggle. But it basically goes through all of his encounters as he starts, finding his disciples and starts recruiting people, and he starts performing miracles. At first, he does it secretly. Then eventually, he comes out to the open, and that's when people start, saying he's a false prophet and all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, I'm waiting for the new season to come out. But what I find interesting, because I don't really know the Bible so much in detail, and there was this one scene I told you about when he was walking on the water. And in this version, he calls Simon to come to him on the water. But I didn't know at the time, but in the Bible, it's Peter he calls out into the water. So they actually changed the original story for this show. And I was asking you, is that right? Can they do that? Because that's like changing the word of God based on the biblical perspective.
And there, my friends, is where we get to a real controversial point. I follow a guy, I think it's named Dan McClellan on TikTok. You should watch him. He's a biblical scholar. He's somebody who goes in depth and does research on this stuff. And it's pretty much concluded. So the Bible is not necessarily the word of God. This is the word of people about God. Our
Right.
different interpretations through the ages about stuff that we've seen. And it's a really controversial subject, and I'm going to lead it right here. This is opinion based here, but based on, different books, based on different readings, the evidence seems to suggest that the story has been altered over time in order to fit a certain narrative. And certain narratives being, like Constantine, for example, rewrote the Bible into this most present version. So they decided which books were going to be a part of it, which books were not going to be a part of it. The Gospel of Mary Magdalene is an example of something that was taken out. So in that version, which is a Gnostic text, she was the first person to see Jesus after he was resurrected.
Right.
And that is a very, that's one of those really controversial things. And it's backed up actually in the catacombs of the church. So that's part of the book, The Immortality Key. In the murals, it's suggested that females were actually the ones that were the most revered, not males. Like they were the leaders of all the ancient rites and the ceremonies. But I remember Simon is Peter's full name.
So maybe the name was just different because at that point there wasn't a disciple called Peter. So maybe that's what it was. The name was just different. But yeah, if you find out, let us know. Maybe that's what it is. It's a different name.
Should have brought my Bible out here, but I didn't think of that. I can AI it real quick, but
yeah, that's interesting because I don't remember Simon.
What the hell am I trying to read it over here on the small side when I could look over here on the big side? I'm all like trying to squint myself to death here.
Well, while you do that, it's like in that movie, The Passion of the Christ. After he does die, Mary is the first one to encounter him. And she goes to touch him, but he says, no, you can't touch me because I'm not of this earth yet, or something like that. Yep. Maybe he's in spirit form, or he's ascended and can't be touched by a third dimensional being, or I don't know.
I don't know, man. It's interesting. That's all I got to say. It's like in the book, again, The Immortality Key, they suggest some heretical stuff, and that's why, the church. But the church, dude, they've been under fire for a lot of messed up stuff. So if you really want to trust the Catholic Church, by all means. But they've definitely showed evidence throughout history of wiping things off the map that didn't agree with them and crucifying everybody who didn't agree with them. I mean, there's a long list of things, okay?
Well, it's like the Book of Enoch, right? Removed that one when that seems to be the most fascinating to me.
I've read that shit 3 times. 3 times, and it's not made any more sense to me. But a lot of the parts, maybe. So I think personally, it's a lot. It basically expands the book of Genesis, and it tells the story about the fallen angels a little bit better. But why they took it out, I also think. So people think that. I think they misinterpret it. I think it actually describes the rotation of the planets, going into the different gates. So when I had to read it high one time, we'll be honest here, okay? Read it stoned, and I really do believe that it's talking about the rotations of the planets in a really cryptic-ass weird way. I don't know how else to explain it, but...
We should do a show just on that one of these days to go more detail.
We could.
I'm game for that. Because our half an hour is almost up. Wow.
Gives the story about the Nephilim a little bit more.
The Watchers.
Because
Yeah.
right, the freaking that's the part that I can't mess with about the Bible, dude. I can't f with, because it mentions the Nephilim. The Nephilim was on Earth in those days. That was it. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Does not tell you who the Nephilim were. It doesn't tell you who these giants were. David fights Goliath, for example. So there's they talk about a giant. Well, where the hell did all the other giants go? Why was he the only one? You know what I mean?
Well, supposedly the Nephilim were when the angels bred with the human women.
Right.
But from what I've heard, there are different levels of giants. There were giants as big as mountains. I think Goliath was 20 feet tall or something, if that tall. Maybe not even that long. So maybe there were different versions or different levels.
It's hard to say what the truth is. You can read and read, but like, we're dealing with historical accounts from different people. We're dealing with, like, there's no way to fully know the truth. So to say that any one person knows the actual truth is silly. Like, you can read one book and then go read another one, and it'll give you a different perspective if your mind is open enough. Like, there is not one single universal truth, and that's the key. Like, that's the problem I've always had with religious beliefs, is that people end up with a closed mind inside of a box. And the fact is, everything else exists around here. That's the part of the control mechanism, in my opinion, is
my biggest question, though, is how could two people from the beginning, Adam and Eve, and then populate the earth, creating, I don't know how many back then, hundreds of thousands, and then the flood supposedly killed everybody but Noah's family, and then they recreated the planet. We're up to 7 billion people now, so that makes us all related.
You can't apply critical thinking to it, okay? That's the point. Critical thinking is not allowed. You start asking questions, then they get mad at you. Like, and again, I'm not a Bible hater at all. Like, I am a firm believer in God. I just don't believe in the way that keeps you in here, in this little tiny box, right?
Right.
I think that what the story we have today is a condensed version of something far greater. That's what I think. Like, even the story of evolution is not any better, right? Like, it doesn't make any more sense than the biblical story. I mean, at least it makes a little bit more sense, I guess. But even then, we're missing all kinds of pieces of the puzzle. I think that we have, bits and pieces of some universal truth all over the place, and nobody's got the full story.
Well, it's like the contradictions I find in the stories. Like, how can an all-loving, perfect creator create somebody and they come out the way they were created, and then they get banished to hell for literally eternity? That does not make sense to me.
Nope.
And I don't believe that.
Not even a little bit. Not even a little bit, because that story, in my opinion, this is a real controversial opinion. I don't even care. But we're dealing with an entity that is a false god. That is somebody who wanted to keep control over mankind, whatever you want to call it. Like, God is a source, the source of the universe itself. God is not a being that you can, that is going to communicate with us. It communicates with you all. It's hard to explain. Okay.
Oh, I get it.
Like, the universe will communicate with you in any way all day long through symbolism, through, the people that you meet. But the idea that he's going to smite entire cities because they don't believe him, that is not the actual God. You're dealing with something different. Like, the idea that God is going to smite all the gay people or something like that is, again, this is not the actual God we're dealing with.
Some people have actually said that the God of the Bible is actually Satan.
Because it's probably true. And that's going to get me banned off here, right? But I've been reading a book called Conversations or Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill. He's the same guy that did like the Think and Grow Rich book. And the devil, like, essentially they've waited like 70 years to publish this book because it's really controversial. And essentially he like interviews the devil in the book. Whatever you want to believe it, if it's metaphorical or not, who knows? But he said that the devil actually controls 98% of people. And the way that he does that is through fear. And the religious, the people in churches and stuff like that are actually the greatest drivers of this, because they instill the fear of the devil in you from when you were a kid. And the law of attraction, the way it works is that you attract the dominant fear. You attract what you fear. So that's always going to be the strongest attractor. But I'm going off the rails here. It's a solid book, man. It actually explains the devil as being if you look at the positive side of the force in the universe, which is God, there has to be a negative. There has to be a yang.
Oh yeah.
Yin and yang, right? So it's actually, he declares himself to be like the negative side of the atom. So he's the negative part of everybody. He exists in every single person. And the way he gains control over your mind is by allowing yourself fear to control you, allowing yourself to indulge in habits that don't serve you anymore. Like I'm telling you, read this book. It'll like, you'll be like, oh my God, dude, I had no idea. Like, it's crazy, man.
What's the name of the book?
It's called Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill.
Outwitting the Devil. I'm gonna check that out.
That's what I do, man. I read in my free time. I listen to audiobooks, but that's when on my long drive to work. Yep. All right, that was a quick 30 minutes, sir. Jeez.
It was, yeah. We gotta get this stuff covered, yeah. Okay. So next week, what do you want to talk about next week? The Book of Enoch.
Yeah, we should talk about the Book of Enoch.
Okay.
I'll try to read it again within this week, even though it's so drawn out. I don't know. It's in such cryptic language, man. Like, I don't know.
Maybe just check out some stuff that would stand out that we can talk about. We
can talk about the Nephilim. We can coincide that with the Sumerian stories. Again, if you really want to know the truth about human origins, you look into the Sumerian text, look into the all the clay tablets that were uncovered, and it gives you a way better story. And then you start to draw parallels between that and the Bible. You realize that the Bible is a condensed version of older texts. And you're like, oh my goodness. So this person was quite literally trying to control humankind, control his creation, if you will.
All right. So next week you have it. We're going to check out the Book of Enoch. All right. So I guess we're going to go ahead and wrap up. We'll catch you later and you get to bed.
Yeah, I'm going to go to sleep so I can get up and start my hell work week.
Man. I work tomorrow too. It's not early. I work PM shift, but it's crazy how busy we still are. Hasn't slowed down at all.
I'm still in logistics, so I'm a little bit. But we're moving though, dude. We're moving offices, so it sucks even worse. But anyway,
all right.
Much love, my friends.
You as too. Day. See ya, buddy. All right, so we're gonna wrap up. That was Mr. JB333, me, the Seeker, summarizing our talks on what happened in Miami with the supposed sighting of the 10-foot tall shadow alien. Talked a little bit about the Bible. And we're going to get more in depth in that on next week's show. Should be 10 p.m. my time, 7 p.m. Pacific time. And we'll catch you guys later. Thanks for watching. If you missed it live, make sure you check it out later on the stream on our YouTube channels. And have a great night.